What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we'll be talking about New York Killzone. Over the weeks I've talked about London Killzone and I made it known to you guys that I'll be talking about New York Killzone in today's video. Killzones are times of the day when we have high probability trading opportunity, and I made you guys understand that we have the Asian Killzone, the London Killzone and the New York Killzone. So I've talked about London Killzone, and today, like I just said, we'll be talking about the New York Killzone. I will explain exactly what the New York Killzone is, times to trade the New York Killzone, and how you can actually make money from the financial markets by trading the New York Killzone. Now, the major pairs to look at if you want to trade the New York Killzone are the USD pairs, and the New York Open frequently set up an optimal trade entry pattern that can offer a 20 to 30 pips. Okay, so this is what ICT said. ICT said that the New York Open, it set up an optimal trade entry pattern that can offer a 20 to 30 pips. So I will show you that very soon. Okay, so just stick with me. And another key thing you should keep in mind is that the key time to monitor is 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. And while setting your time, make sure that your time zone is set at UTC -4 New York time. Okay, keep that in mind. So these things I'm listing right now, I need you to note them. Okay, note all these stuffs. It's very important because these are things you'll be combining to trade this New York Killzone. Okay, I don't want to waste time. Let's jump straight into it. And another thing you should also keep in mind is that the price action during the New York session sees a consistent round of economic news. From what you can actually see from this area right here, right now, you can see this massive push to the downside. You see how price is pushing to the downside. If I try to look for the specified time is 7 o'clock New York time. So this is 7 o'clock New York time, and if I try to check this is 10 o'clock New York time. And between this specified time zone, you can see this massive push to the downside. And what did I just made known to you? What I made known to you is that we usually have high impact news released during this time of the day. These are times of the day when most of the economic news are released, and what you should note is that some of this economic news might be in your favor and sometimes it might go against you. Okay, and this particular news right here today is the 4th of August, and this is NFP news. Okay, very significant news. If you follow your economic calendar, you know that NFP news is one of the high impact news that is usually released every first Friday of every month. And if you want to read the news before you take any trade during the New York time, I will refer you to Forex Factory. This is Forex Factory right here, and you can see these are the news we have, and you see this is the non-farm payroll, the NFP news I talked about that was released, and it was released together with unemployment rates. These are high impact news. So if you want to trade the New York Killzone, remember I said you want to monitor the USD pairs and check the actual time of the day if there is any impact news before you look to enter your trade. And if you come over to this area, this is where you can make settings. Here is currencies, any currency you want to monitor. If you want to monitor only USD, you can click here, and for me I monitor most of these pairs right here, so I'm okay with this. The one with ash color here, usually when you see any news with ash color, it means that we have a bank holiday. Just like you can see over here, this is from next week. AUD pairs, they're gonna be on bank holiday. So when you see the ash, you should keep in mind that the banks are gonna be on holiday. And when you see the yellow color, when you activate the yellow color, I didn't activate that. Why? This particular one, that's for low impact news, and I'm not interested in seeing low impact news events. The orange color right here, this is a medium impact news, and if you see the red one, know that this is a high impact news that is going to be released. Okay, and that's why you see NFP is a high impact news and it has the red color, and you can actually see how it's affected the market. You see that massive push to the downside. So if you want to trade the New York Killzone, what you should keep in mind is that the New York session typically has two potential scenarios. Okay, it has two potential scenarios where we might see a continuation of the London's move, or we see a complete reversal on the daily direction. What we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on the continuation of what happened on the previous session. What does that look like? So let's input some of our settings. What you have to do is you're going to right click, go to settings, you're going to put your session break. Okay, this is very important, and I know you know exactly how to use session break. Session break separates different trading days, okay, so it will be easy to identify. Now next thing we're going to do is we're going to need a session indicator, and the particular session indicator I'm using is session on charts. What you have to do, you have to head to indicators, click on indicators, type session on charts, this one right here by Ariel Rocks. That's the particular one I'm using. You have to activate it, and once you activate it, you come to the settings. Here is the settings. What you're going to do is you're going to activate New York session. Once you activate New York section, make sure that London section is deactivated, Tokyo section is deactivated, and Sydney section is also deactivated. Right now, when you go to this area, what you're going to do is you're going to set your time to 7 a.m. New York time, and right here you set it at 10 a.m. New York time. Very simple settings. Once you do that, press OK and you activate your indicator. You see the indicator is going to separate different trading days, okay? So from what you can see, this New York time, that is the specified time, New York time, and you can clearly see it's helping you identify that particular time of the day, okay? It's helping you map out that particular time of the day, so it will be easy for you, so you don't go about the whole chart trying to do it yourself and get confused. Now, how we actually trade this is from what I said it's a time where there is a trend continuation from the previous session. So let's say if the previous session was in an uptrend, so from here we have the Asian range, and after the Asian range, London Killzone stepped in, and now let's say price was in an uptrend, and over here this was the specified time. You see the New York time open was at this particular area, and from what you can see, the previous session price was trending up, okay? You can see that price was in an uptrend. Now when price is in an uptrend, what is our expectation? Our expectation during this New York Killzone is that we want to see a continuation to the upside, okay? That's what I just explained, that New York Killzone is when we see, most times you see a trend continuation. Now, how do you trade this trend continuation? How we trade this is we're going to expect an OTE, which means optimal trade entry. Now, what is optimal trade entry? Now, you're going to need the Fibonacci tool. You're going to need the Fibonacci tool, and right here is my Fibonacci tool, and here is the settings. These are the settings. I have the 0 level, which is the equilibrium level, and I have, these are just the settings. You can use my own settings. Now what you should keep in mind, that this is a premium level. This area right here, this area is the premium level, and this area right here, the downside, this is the discount level. I've talked about how to use the Fibonacci tool. So for your optimal trade entry, what you do is once price open during the specified time, during the New York time, what you're going to do is you're going to need your Fib tool. You're going to need your Fib to measure from the low of this area to the high. Once you measure from the low to the high, I have to zoom in so you see this. Once you measure from the low to the high, what you're going to do is you're going to wait for price to retrace back into this level. Once price retraces back into this level and hits the 0.62 level, you can look to enter your trade from that area. And remember what I said at the beginning of the video. I said that the New York Open frequently set up an optimal trade entry pattern that can offer a 20 to 30 pips, okay? So once price hits this level, you can look to enter your trade, and you can actually target 20 to 30 pips. Now another confluence you can add to make this a high probability one is if you have a fair value gap at this area, or you have an order block, because price might actually come to this level, retrace more into an order block before we see that push to the upside. So once you entering your trade at this 0.62 level, make sure your stop loss is placed below this area, or you can actually look for any significant area to place your stop loss within this range, okay? You can actually target the 20 to 30 pips ICT said that could be offered during this New York time. And if you don't want to do that, you can actually go for a 1:2 trade opportunity, okay? So that's a simple thing. Like I said, since the previous session was in an uptrend, you want to see a continuation of that uptrend, but before the continuation, you want to see a retracement into an optimal trade entry, okay? You want to see a retracement that's going to give us an optimal trade entry pattern before we see that continuation to the upside, okay? So that's the simple thing we have to do. Very, very simple. And this is how to trade the New York Killzone. And that's the same thing. Let's say over here, this was the Asian range. That's for a downtrend. And during the London Killzone, we now start seeing price pushing to the downside. We're seeing a push to the downside. And over here, let's say this was the price action we actually see during that time. This was the New York Killzone. This is the price action we see at that particular time. In order to enter and ride the continuation of the downtrend, you're going to use your fib tool. And once you measure that, what you're going to do is you're going to map out this particular level from this 0.62 level to here. This will be the zone you'll be looking to trade from. Remember, your stop loss placed at this high or any significant low inside this particular range. Okay, now what you're going to expect is a retracement back into this level, and you're going to trade to the downside. And make sure that you're getting your entry during the specified time. Okay, you get your entry during the specified time and you look to trade to the downside. If price was playing around, and after the specified time price comes back to that level, I won't advise you to take the trade. Okay, I won't advise you to take that particular trade. Okay, so one thing you should keep in mind is that you might not actually see this setup every time of the day. In some cases, price might actually continue with the trend, that's the trend from the previous session, without coming back to give us an optimal trade entry. Okay, price might just continue without giving us an entry. So let's say in a scenario we see this kind of price action where price was in a range, no clear movement, and finally we are at the specified time, that is the New York time, and you see this kind of price action that price didn't give any clear movement till the specified time. What you have to do is you have to avoid this price action. Okay, avoid this kind of price action. Don't take any trade and wait for another trading day. Okay, or you go to a different pair that might actually offer you a good trading opportunity. Okay, so the key points you should keep in mind is that the pairs to trade are the USD pairs. Okay, USD pairs are what you should trade. Secondly, the key time to monitor is 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. And the next thing you should keep in mind is that it is a time where there is a trend continuation from the previous session. Okay, so we're going to see a continuation from the previous session. And how do we enter the trade? We're going to expect an optimal trade entry that can offer us 20 to 30 pips. So these are the key points you should keep in mind. So let's move to the price chart right now. Let me show you a few examples so you understand better. Okay, let's start from over here. So remember, I said you should go to settings and activate your session break, so it will help you separate different days. And today, this is the 19th day of July. Okay, this is the 19th day of July, and don't forget to activate your session indicator, which is this particular area that is helping to identify the specified time, which is 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. So keep that in mind. Now, what did I said you should note? I said the New York Killzone, we usually see the continuation of what's happening in the previous session. So from what you can actually see at this area, what you can see that the previous session price has been in an uptrend. Okay, we see price moving in an uptrend. This is a break of structure, and over here we have a little break of structure. Okay, so what I said is you should use your fib to measure from this particular low to the current high, and you see price retraced back into discount area. Price retraced back, moved below the equilibrium level and tapped into your discount area. And what did I said you should note? I said you should note you should take your trade from the 0.62 level. Okay, this is the area you look to enter your trade. So if you want to enter a trade, this particular level could be a possible place to enter. And for what you can see, this particular level, price was finding it hard to close below this level. For this particular example, you can see that price find it very hard to close below this particular level, and after that you see price reverse to the upside, hitting this particular high before we see a little retracement and finally the close of the day. So if you try to measure the particular move and how many pips it offered, you see it offered about 49 pips, very close to 50 pips before the close of the day. And what you should keep in mind is that if your stop loss was placed below this area, I don't think that you were able to get a 1:2 trade here. What I know is that it offered more than the 20 to 30 pips that we expect to see during this particular time of the day. Okay, so let's move on to the next example. So from this area, what you can actually see is that price has been in a downtrend. You can see that the previous session has been in the downtrend. Now during this specified time from this particular high to this low right here, you see price retraced back into this particular level, and after price hits the level, we see a push to the downside before we now see price retracing back up. Okay, no strategy works 100% of the time, but what you should keep in mind and what you should note from here is that price actually offered how many pips? Price moved about 90 pips, okay, before we see this reversal to the upside. But this particular setup, before the reversal, what you can actually see is that price hit my higher time frame point of interest, because I already had a zone right here. If I try to go to the 1 hour time frame, this is the 1 hour time frame, and what you can actually see is that I already have my zone. This particular setup was on my personal watch list, where we see price break this particular low, break this low. Now we see a market structure shifts right here. This could be an inducement area, and after that you see price retracing, tap into this zone and start pushing to the upside. And if you try to see the price action from there, price has been in a massive uptrend after that. So this was the reason this particular setup reversed. Price reversed from this particular area. So if you trade in any strategy, don't trade it blindly, still combine it with other smart money concepts. This particular one reversed because price hit a higher time frame point of interest, and we see a reversal to the upside. But what you should keep in mind is that price actually offered 92 pips before the reversal. Okay, so continuing from there, what you can actually see in this particular example is that price was in a downtrend during the previous session, and if you wanted to take a trade, you still measure with your fib tool from that high to this particular low, and where could be your entry, your optimal trade entry from this area is where you're going to look to get your entry from here and to this area. But in this particular place, it was a failed setup because price blast through that area and moved to the upside. Okay, price blast through that area, and continuing, you know, no setup is going to work 100% of the time. So this particular trading day, 14th day of July, what you can actually see is that during the previous session, price was trending up, and like I said, during the New York Killzone, we're going to get the continuation of that trend. Okay, so from this area, you see we have this particular low and we have this high. So you measure with your fib tool. Once you measure with your fib tool from that low to the high, where is going to be your entry, your optimal trade entry would be from this area 0.62 level to right here. Okay, so what you see right here is that price retraced back and it tapped into this area, which is our entry area, and you see from there price moved about 75 pips. Okay, this is even giving us more than what we are looking for. So from there, the price was actually in a range, because this particular area we don't see a clear movement. What you see is that price forms a low over here, break structure, forms a high, pulls back, and this price action right here is more like price being in a range, no clear movement over here. So we're stepping into the next day. This is the 12th day of July, and what you can actually see from here, price was in a downtrend, and where could we look to enter? This is a low and this is a high. So we didn't get any entry right here, but what you should keep in mind is that we equally get continuation of the previous session's move. Okay, the previous session was in the downtrend, and this particular day continued the downtrend, but we didn't get any clear entry right there. Okay, so continuing, this is the 11th day of July. So what you can actually see is that we have a low and price forms this high. So from this particular high to this particular low right here, your optimal trade entry should be at this particular area from this 0.6 level to this high. Anywhere could be where you're going to enter your trade, and if your stop loss was placed above this high, you were actually covered, and price moved a little more till market closed. The next day we see the continuation to the downside. But if you took this trade, you might have been in this trade till the close of the day. Okay, so continuing to the next day. So from the next day, what we see, we have two movements right here. The first movement is that price pushed the upside. Now we have a high. When it was London session, we see a change in market structure, price pushing to the downside. So it's okay to say that the previous session was in a downtrend. Okay, the previous session was in a downtrend after we got the change of character, that is the market structure shifts over here. Now if you want to enter, so optimal trade entry, where are you entering from this particular area to this area? Okay, this is your entry zone. Now what you see is that price retraces back, tags you into the trade, and you see the continuation to the downside. And if you try to measure the move from there till the close of the session, you see we have about 83 pips move. So this is a very good strategy, and this is how you can actually trade the New York Killzone. The New York Killzone offers an optimal trade entry that forms the continuation of the previous session's movement. Okay, it gives the continuation of the previous session's movement after we see a pullback that give us the opportunity to enter a trade. Then we see the continuation to that particular overall movement. Okay, so that's it, and I hope you understand what New York Killzone is all about. So what I need you to do is you have to move to the price charts. You have to move to your price charts and backtest this. So like I always say, don't trade any strategy blindly. Try to backtest and see if the strategy actually works. Okay, so that's it, and I hope you got value from today's video. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm Solomon Wisdom, and here is Born to Trade, so be part of this family.